And joining us now is Dennis Ross, director of the American Center for Political Leadership at Southeastern University and former Congressman. Representative Ross, great to see you again. As you know, Congress has quite the to-do list to tackle in the next 10 days. How much of it do you think they can actually accomplish, especially in light of all the partisanship and even infighting in certain parties now?
Well, I think the first thing, which of course is the end of this week, which is the funding bill, I think a stopgap CR will probably be passed. It may go to the evening of Thursday night and then late Friday night in the Senate or the House, depending on who the last one is to have it, just because they don't really want to see the shutdown. But then 2 weeks from now, we've also got to deal with the debt ceiling. And I think that's going to be a more protracted fight. And I think that you're going to see a lot of Republicans really want to put their heels in on increasing the debt ceiling without getting something in return, whether it be a systemic plan for reducing debt and deficit or something else. Now, you look at the Build Back Better bill, what alliteration that is, but that's something that I don't know if it's going to make it by the end of this year. Joe Manchin wants to take out certain elements of that. You know, it passed the House, $2 trillion spending bill, passed in the House just before Thanksgiving. It's now in the Senate. Joe Manchin wants to take out the Paid Family Medical Leave Act. There's some human infrastructure in there that includes, pre-K, paying pre-K for universal pre-K. There's a lot of other things that I think are going to have to be and it's got to be done under reconciliation, which means that it has to be done in a certain fashion and only requires 51 votes. That's going to be tough. I don't know if that's going to make it by the end of the year. I think you will see a spending bill. Watch out for the debt ceiling. And, don't also forget that there's a resolution out there to withdraw the authorization of use of military force that was out there since 2002 or 2001 on Iraq. So that's also something that's going to be debated. It's going to be a lively 3 to 4 weeks.
Absolutely. And as we heard from Eric, the National Defense Authorization Act, that's one piece of legislation, though, that seems to have quite a bit of bipartisan support. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that, the importance of passing the NDAA?
The NDAA is always one of those must-pass bills. It is always a very bipartisan bill. You've got, you take the politics out of it to the degree that you can in Congress when you're dealing with this, because we want to make sure that we have a strong military. We want to make sure that our readiness is as best as it can be. And history has shown that the NDAAs usually pass pretty well. I don't think that one will bog down, even for political reasons. It doesn't make sense for the Republicans to want to kill it for political reasons or vice versa. I believe that the NDAA will pass. You've got some reasonable people on both sides of the aisle that will marshal this through. And as you pointed out in your preliminary comments, it passed the committee with 23-3. So that's a pretty strong indication that it'll pass both chambers.
Yeah, and something else I want to talk to you about, kind of a segue here, the Iran nuclear deal negotiations. They restarted today, and Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett warned that Iran wants to end sanctions in exchange for almost nothing. I'd like to get your take on all that.
Well, it was a shame we ever got into it in the first place. And I think the sanctions do work. I think it's important that we do that. We're never going to have the access necessary to determine whether they're getting nuclear armament capabilities, and it's very frightening. I will tell you, do not discount Israel. Israel, goes back to 1986 when they took out the nuclear reactor in Iraq. And they will be there and ready to preempt anything if their intelligence shows that. I think a lot of the Mideast is relying on Israel. As you see, they've not only built relations for commerce, but they've also built relations for cultural with Arab nations. Israel has. So I think they're going to be the policemen in there right now. We have to be at the table in Vienna. We're not right now. I just don't see us in our best interest to back down. We've got to maintain the sanctions. We've got to make sure that Iran does not get nuclear armament capabilities, period.
Yeah, another thing really quickly, want to get your take on another threat that we're seeing, this new variant of the coronavirus first detected in South Africa and now making headlines. President Biden talked about it today and said it's a cause for concern but not panic. But the administration is restricting travel from South Africa and other South African nations. Representative Ross, do you think that is a smart move? And also, what type of implications do you think those travel restrictions may have?
Well, right now, I don't think those travel restrictions are going to necessarily impact the United States. But as this Omicron variant, if it continues to grow, then we'll see what happened with the Delta variant happen again. The travel restrictions will get stronger. Less people will travel. Commerce will take a downturn. I'm afraid to say this, but I think it's starting to become rather evident. This is a new normal for us. Dealing with variants of the COVID-19 virus is a new normal for us. We've got to be prepared to handle this, and we can't shut down our worlds because of it. We've got to learn how to work within it. And travel restrictions are not good, although they're necessary at first. I'm hopeful, remain hopeful, that the Omicron variant is not a significant game changer in the COVID history.
Absolutely, and I guess time will tell for that. So much more we can talk about. Unfortunately, have to leave it right there. Thank you so much, Representative Ross, for your time and analysis.
Thank you.